When I seen this first come out, I was super apprehensive because I've seen Derren do quite a few talks to magicians directly, and he's very reluctant to tip methods because he has a public audience. So when I seen this was advertised, I was unsure as to how much this was going to go into. I thought maybe it's just going to talk about stagecraft, but he has some tricks included in here. He has some tips and techniques. He even talks about an ambitious card routine, how he would do the ambitious card routine. Notes from a Fellow Traveler by Derren Brown. 20 darn years in the making to get my hands on a copy of this book. It's the first book that Derren Brown has written purely aimed at magicians and mentalists since 2003. And if what people are saying is true, the people that have the pre-advanced versions that read it at the event, then this possibly may change the landscape of magic and mentalism yet again from the mind of Derren Brown. I got home at 2 in the morning. I obviously haven't read the full book yet. It's over 500 pages long, but what I do know is the full contents of the book, and I can tell you there's some chapters which, without even reading a single word, are screaming to me. But also, I was fortunate enough to be at the live event in the Magic Circle headquarters in London yesterday to see Derren Brown give a full interview about the book and a live Q&A to the audience. So I kind of know roughly what the book's about in a lot more detail than you'd find on the website. So I'm going to tell you kind of what Derren said. And if you want to hear a more detailed review, probably coming up in about 2 days' time, because it's over 500 pages long, so I need like 2 days to read it, then subscribe to the channel and keep an eye out for the next video. With all that being said, let's talk about Notes from a Fellow Traveler by Derren Brown. First of all, you'll notice this isn't the paperback edition. This is the deluxe luxury limited edition hardback copy and bonus Easter egg. They asked me when my birthday was. I said the 28th of August, so I managed to pick up edition number 28, which I thought was a pretty cool little touch. The front cover of this book doesn't look the same as all the other paperback versions and the normal hardback versions, but the contents inside it are exactly the same. So I'm going to take this out of the shell right now and give you a good look of what I got. Oh my goodness, look at that. It was actually published by the Neat Review by a friend of mine called Alex Hansford. If you guys don't know the Neat Review, they are a magazine. They put on a convention. They are just the highest quality in books and production that you're going to find. So immediately you can understand why Derren Brown chose to work with them on his new book. But this is the deluxe. This is the deluxe cover, as you can see. So it's got like a brown cover to it. It looks gorgeous. Inside, it's got a black page. Signed a little note to me. So what is the book about? Why was it written? Derren said on stage that he wrote this whilst he was touring his showman tour for 2 years. He sort of did it in the daytime. He said he would wake up whenever he wanted, head out to a coffee shop, and then write up these notes, or this book, but a set of notes that would eventually become this book to sort of keep him sane. And the subtitle of the book is Mentalism, Meaning, and 30 Years of Mistakes. So he felt like after, 30 years of performing and creating magic and mentalism, mainly mentalism, but for stage, he's made a lot of mistakes that have allowed him to become what I consider the best living mentalist, probably the best mentalist of all time. And when I seen this first come out, I was super apprehensive because I've seen Derren do quite a few talks to magicians directly, so at certain conventions, at like a private talk I went to, and he's very reluctant to tip methods because he has a public audience. And the people in the UK especially, maybe not so much in America that maybe don't know him, but in the UK he is a household name. People really believe that what he does is 100% real, and to an extent it is. So every time I've seen him talk or ever do anything since releasing Pure Effect and Absolute Magic, he's been very reluctant to tip anything. So when I seen this was advertised, I was unsure as to how much this was going to go into. I thought maybe it's just going to talk about stagecraft. Maybe it's just going to, potentially talk about light and dark and how to project your voice and look after yourself on tour. But it absolutely is not just about that. He has some tricks included in here. He has some tips and techniques. He even talks about an ambitious card routine, how he would do the ambitious card routine. So let me tell you some of the list of contents from within the book. I'm not going to go through all of them because there's quite a lot, but I'm trying not to bend the pages. But for example, the first chapter heading is called "How to Make a Giant Cake." But these are the chapters that sort of jump out to me. Questions of method, a dice routine. Absent finales, 2 tricks, the lucky key and lucky number. Another interesting one is questions of effect. So I'm assuming that's effect choice. There's a huge chapter on handling spectators, which I think is quite fascinating, or at least it's going to be. A chapter on page 245 called "A Watch in a Sock." A novel use for selfies. Freebies. Hopefully that's like getting free hits and playing to them. And now this is blowing my mind. A billet gimmick. Can I just say, Derren Brown in his new book is teaching you a billet gimmick. What? A lady's head gets stuck to the table. The magic triangle. I have no idea what that is, but it sounds incredible. A chapter on mystery, which makes me want to dive headfirst into the book. And then we have the magician archetype, the shadow magician and the enlightened magician. And then there's a few more chapters in between. There's like this subcat. Oh, okay. Sorry. Let me read this one to you. What am I on about? Why did I even not include this immediately? This one is my soul. This chapter is called Some Rants. Close-up mentalism, the coffee shop rule, and Uncle Bertie. And the subcategories. There's quite a lot of subcategories, but the one that jumps out to me is card at a number. I have no idea what direction he's going to go with that. It says it's a rant, so he could be ranting about maybe the premise of it, maybe the way people perform it, maybe the presentation of it. I have no idea. But within this book, Derren says that he talks about many, many different things. And what Richard Young was constantly seeming to pull from his notes that he'd written up was just incredible quotes that every single one of them could have been written on a pillow and put on Pinterest, but purely for magicians. There were some incredible pieces of wisdom summed up in beautiful quotes that are seemingly scattered within, that were highlighted and told to us all at the live audience. So there's a lot of talk on here about building an actual stage show. There's a lot of funny diary entries or funny stories from things and events that had happened, from people falling off a stage to like a lady getting her head literally stuck to a table, and some of those things that he found and learned along the way to counteract some issues that I know that he talks about in there, that certain people would be, hypnotized as a crowd in the audience, but some people would have a bad reaction to it, and what he realized he could do to prevent that from happening almost entirely. So, I mean, I'm giving you the briefest of brief overviews, but I think the interesting thing for me, the big takeaway for me, is that he does talk about methods and tricks, and the fact that there's like a billet gimmick in here. He says that he talks about his ambitious card routine, or the way he would do the ambitious card routine, a chapter on a card at number, a couple of tricks, a dice routine. That alone from Derren Brown was worth the price of entry alone. I know it's already worth the price of the book, and I cannot wait to delve in deeper between the pages. So I wanted to give you guys a super duper quick overview about the contents of the book. I'm now going to go off and try and scour it from cover to cover in the next 2 days. So if you want to hear a more detailed review, I might not review everything. I'm probably not going to review every single chapter. A lot of it's not going to appeal to me directly because I don't do stage magic. But I probably will tell you a little bit more without spoiling the book at all about some of the pieces of magic within, but being very careful to not tip enough to ruin it for anyone. So if you want to see that review, make sure you hit that subscribe button, tune into the next video, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Peace.